Because in all reality, if you're following along, and hopefully you are, you're making great money right now. Or you're sitting on the sidelines right now because there's just nothing to take. Now keep in mind, not every day is a trading day, nor it should be a trading day. But every day you need to have a plan. Welcome to the Outlier Trading Room. This is smart trading made simple. This is where we save time, make money, and start winning with less risk together as a team. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Christopher Yule. I've twice been awarded top 100 people in finance. I was mentored by the market wizards, 5 of the market wizards, the best traders of all time. I've been successfully trading since 2009. But before we start trading, let's get into the lesson of the day. Let's go to the options chain and let's talk about why I personally like to go this route versus buying out of the money options. But before I do that, I need to log into Tasty Trade, Tasty Works, whatever the hell it's called these days. Give me a moment here. You might see me with a new broker at some point. I'm just saying, I'm not giving any details away, but you just might. You just might. We'll see. Now, there's no reason that you have to use this one. I've just used them since the day they were opened. And I know many of their leadership people personally. But that doesn't mean you have to use them as well. So let's go to, who is this? A-Rock. A-Rock. So for me personally, I start with the option chains right here, right? So you got a 10-day, a 38-day, 73, 136, 220, and 437. I like only the monthlies. You can add in the weeklies. Let's do something with weeklies. Let's go like Apple. So you can add in weeklies. I personally just like to stick with the monthlies, and you can see that it makes a lot less choices. But it also gives you more liquidity in those stocks or in those expirations, right? So every one of these will expire. Now, I'll go into a little bit of detail on that. Like I say, if you don't understand what options are, go check out that video. But every option has a finite term, right? And this is really important in the way that all of us trade, because the best example I can give is when I blew up my account in the 2016 election. I've told this story several times recently, but I'll do it again. That was on a Tuesday night, of course. The market was lock limit down that night. I'd never seen it lock limit down before, so I was super interested. This particular trade that I had put on was called a call ratio back spread, where it would make a little bit of money if stocks went down, but it'd make way more money if stocks went up. So I went to bed thinking, cool, I'll make some money, no big deal. The next morning, stocks went up and didn't go down basically for the entire Trump term. And I actually managed to lose a buttload of money. Like, I remember watching my account just evaporating by the minute and thinking, why? I was right. Why am I losing money? That's because I didn't understand the expiration cycles here, right? I put the trade on Tuesday. The trade expired on Friday. It hadn't moved as much as I needed to by Friday. So why would you want to limit yourself, right? Why do you want to cap yourself? Why do you want to say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna give it 3 days. If it didn't work out in 3 days, whatever, I don't care, right? No, you don't want to be Wall Street bets type people, right? Where it's Lambos or food stamps. No. You want to be smart about this, okay? This is your money. You don't actually want to lose it like those fools do on those message boards, right? So I personally like to go 21 days is where I start. Now, this is a great example because I don't have a 21-day here, right? I just don't. 21 days is generally the amount of time that I'm in a trade at a max. In fact, if you look over here in the performance summary, it'll tell you the average holding period on this is only 13 days. Only 13 days. So you don't want to put anything that's too tight, but you also don't want to go anything too long where you're paying for more extrinsic value than you have to. So that's why I say generally I start at 21 days. Now, I don't have that here, and I'm not going to go 10 days. So I would stick with this one right here, the November 15th. And if I open this, I don't know how much liquidity there will be here. This will be a surprise for me. So not a whole lot. Let's break this down. So you understand why we look for 21 days, right? We want to be able to let the trade work without being cut off, right? You can always roll it out, but that's extra steps. That's more to do. Rather just put it on the right place to begin with. But you don't want to buy it too far out in the future because then you're paying a lot more in extrinsic value, which we'll cover in a little bit. I want to have at least 250 on the open interest. I heard somebody say one time that you want to have open interest be at least 4 times as big as your trades, right? And so at the time when I found that, I was like, 250 divided by 4. So I could buy 60 contracts and be fine. So that's just been my rule, right? I don't always necessarily find something with 250. Sometimes it's 200. Sometimes it's more, right? Sometimes it's in the many, many thousands. But 250 is where I start with. And that can comfortably buy you 60 contracts without having really any issues. And so here, when I look at this, I always want to make sure that my option chain has the following: delta, open interest, extrinsic, your bid, which is when you're selling it, and your ask, which is you're buying it, right? This is the bid ask spread. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So here, looking at open interest, I have 1. I'm in the calls. Like, you could look at the same on the puts if you're going short. So I'm not doing 1, not zeros, not 24, not 54. This one's okay at 295, but it's out of the money. Now, and out of the money at 295 is not how I trade. You might, but I don't. Why would I not do that? Because I want to pay less than 20% or less in extrinsic value. What is extrinsic value? An option is comprised of 2 parts of value. One of them is intrinsic. One of them is extrinsic. Intrinsic is how much moneyness it has, right? So I'm looking around my desk to see what I can use as an example. Use this. This is my Discover card. That is in the shape of a Texas flag, right? No surprise there. So imagine that this is the total cost of your option. Imagine this is $1, right? Now, 2/3 of the option is, the bars here, and you could call that the intrinsic value. So that is how much it's in the money. Okay. Then you've got this much here. This is the extrinsic value. This is the time value, and this will go to 0. Imagine the blue part of the card here shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until at some point it goes away. All option contracts have extrinsic value. All extrinsic value goes to 0 at expiration. Let me repeat that. All options have extrinsic value. All extrinsic value goes to 0. Okay. Now, if all extrinsic goes to 0, why in the world would you want to buy it? How much extrinsic value do you want to buy if you know it goes to 0? This dude, these 10 fingers pointing at this guy will tell you, I want to pay as little extrinsic value as possible. The further out in time you go, the more extrinsic value there will be on the same option contract. So let's look at the 22.5. Let's look at extrinsic value here. So midpoint is 62. Coincidentally, exactly the same as your extrinsic value. That's because it has no moneyness. It has 0 moneyness. If the option expired this very moment, this option is worth nothing. Picking up a penny off the ground is worth more than this option is. It will be absolutely worthless. And it's because it's out of the money. Now, conversely, let's find something with more liquidity. Let's go to Ford Motor Company. I don't know. Right. So you've got thousands on your open interest here. That's a big difference, right? So let's look at these, right? So this one here is 35 cents is the extrinsic value. 35 cents is mid price. So this is out of the money. It's currently at $10.51. So this 11 strike option will be worth absolutely nothing once it expires. Now, if we go up just to the 10, right? We move up to the 10. This one, the current price is 85 cents, but the extrinsic value is 34 cents. The difference in these two is how much in the moneyness it has, how much moneyness it has. So let's just use round numbers here, 85 cents, okay? 85 cents is the price of the option. It has 35 cents of extrinsic value. It's currently trading at 10.50, give or take. So you take the current price, so let's say 10.50 minus the strike here, $10. That's how much moneyness it has. So it has 50 cents of moneyness. That's your intrinsic value. But it's not priced at 50 cents, is it? It's priced at 85 cents. The additional 30 cents is everything else built into it. That's your Vega, that is the volatility pricing, and most of it is the time pricing, your theta. Now, the deal is that, as I said, all extrinsic value goes to zero on every stock, period, at expiration. Some people will tell you the best trading, and I subscribe to this for a long time, but it's just not true. The best trading is when you sell that option because, hey, it's going to go to zero. And so if I sell it, I'm going to collect the 12 cents and it's going to go to zero. I'm here to tell you, please don't ever do that. Just look to buy it. Okay, look to buy it, but pay as little as you can on the extrinsic value. How do we do that? You just move up the chain. Just move up the chain, right? So this is 35 cents. This is 18 cents. This is 1. Okay, let's go to something else. Let's go to Tesla. Right, we went from Ford over to Tesla. You can see the extrinsic value on these is huge, right? So here is 100% extrinsic value. If it expired right now, the 250 strike is worth nothing. The best example I can give you is literally the change I have on my table right here. I just found an American penny made in 2024, in fact. This brand new shiny penny is worth more than the 250 strike option if it were to expire right now at 244.96. And then we talked about how to calculate the extrinsic value. So we'll do that one more time as an example. We'll go to the 200 strike. $50. That is so expensive. So let's say mid price, or we're going to have to lock it down. Let's just say mid price is $50. $50. So 200 minus 50. I'm sorry, no. Current price, 244, whatever. Let's just run it 245. 245 minus the strike, 200, equals $45. So it has roughly $45 of moneyness to it, but it's not priced at $45. It's priced at $50. So the additional $5 there is the extrinsic value. And this is what I was saying. The deeper you go into the chain, the deeper up you go with options, or the deeper down you go with calls and with puts, the less extrinsic value you pay. Okay. And that's what we want to do. We want to minimize the extrinsic value. And so when we get down to here, we can see the extrinsic value of this, let's call it $5 over $50 is how much? What is that percent? 5 divided by 50, it's 10%, obviously. So that means that this particular option is 90% moneyness. 90% moneyness. Okay, now we're talking. That is a valuable option versus 0% moneyness here, out of the money. So for me, I'm always looking in the money. I'm always looking deep in the money. Now, a couple other notes is, for example, let's find the 80 delta right here. Let's just consider that the 80 delta. Let's find the 20 delta. Dave and I had this conversation. One 80 delta option is worth so much more to me than 4 20 delta options. What is delta? What does delta mean? Delta is the amount the option price changes for $1 change in the stock. So at a 20 delta, you would imagine that for every $1 it goes up, this gains 20 cents. And for an 80 delta, you would imagine every $1 change in the stock, this goes up 80 cents. Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, Chris, you said that 4 of these, which would be equivalent to an 80 delta, how are they not worth the same value to you? To exactly why. Because this goes to 0. This is worth nothing to me. This is worth absolutely nothing. There is no moneyness to this, right? It's like you it's like you put on your nice name brand Versace coat, right? Your nice Versace suit, and then you look inside and you realize, wait a minute, Versace's not made at JCPenney. What? I just paid thousands of dollars for this jacket that I put on, and yet I could have got the same thing for like $80, right? There's no moneyness to it. I don't want anything that has no moneyness to it. And then on top of that, only 10% of my option, give or take, only 10% of my option is not moneyness, right? Only 10% of it is subject to going to zero. That point I made earlier. Every option has extrinsic value that will go to zero at expiration. Only 10% of my option here is. 100% of it is here, okay? So while this one can sit, nothing can happen, the most that I can lose, theoretically, if nothing changes, is the extrinsic value. Right? So I still have 90% of my money left. This one here, I have nothing. And the time decay works on a daily basis, right? At 38 days, you've got 38 days until the moneyness of this needs to be either in the money or it's worth nothing. So that's why I focus on extrinsic value. Like I say, I don't want to pay very much for it. So if I go to the, let's go to the 250 strike here. No. Let's do it in the money. The 200 strike. I can see that I've got $5 of extrinsic in November. The 200 strike here in October, I've got 87 cents of extrinsic value. So that sounds cool, right? One of the reasons I like to go shorter than longer. And then if we look in December, the 200 strike has $9 of extrinsic value. So if I go to December, I'm going to pay $9 of my option in extrinsic value. If I go to November, I'm going to pay $5 in extrinsic value. And if I go to October, I'm going to pay 88 cents. Big differences, right? That's the time value, right? I mean, you can see right here, all things equal, that $9, when this option gets, or this expiration gets 10 days out, will be worth 80 cents. Do you want to give up $9 and watch it just go down to 80 cents? I certainly don't. No way, Jose. So when I do the math, that really, honestly, most of the time puts me at 80 delta, which is why I would say it's around 80 delta. And when I do my option pricing, I always just do like 80, because it's really, really close always to 80 delta. It's just how the math works out. But one thing I don't want to forget is the bid-ask spread. So the bid-ask spread is a very easy gauge of liquidity. So there's tons and tons of options here, right? You've got 4,000, 4,000, 10,000, a couple of strikes with just a few hundred. But overall, you know this is super liquid, because even on a giant stock, a $200 and something stock, and all the options are $30, $40, $50, this is still like 30 cents wide. You're only going to have to give up 30 cents to get in and get out. You're only going to have to give up 20 cents to get in and get out. And let's go to, it was AMOC that we looked at earlier. That's not it. AROC. We go to AROC, and this is 20 cents. I'll go to a different one. Tell me your favorite stock. Ready to go. Any stock. I don't care what it is. I just need some examples. Let's go to J&J. This one here, that's 70 cents wide, 75 cents wide, only 7 on open interest, 75 cents wide here. 75 cents wide means that if you want to get in and get out, you lose 75 cents. It's 15 cents here, which means this is way more liquid. Brian says Lockheed Martin. This is $1.20 wide. It still shows 509 open interest, which should be plenty of liquidity. But if I have to give up $1.20 at this point, how much am I giving up? So $1.20 on $39 is 3%. So I have to lose 3% to get in and out of this. That's not so bad, but let's find something that's small yet illiquid. How about GM? What I'm trying to do is find one that's got a really wide spread, but it's not super expensive. So the percent of that spread is huge. Striking out here. GE, General Electric. Let's look at this. DJT. Oh, DJT. That's Donald Trump stock. That's not so bad. It's quite a lot of liquidity, actually. ANIP, ANIP. That'll do. Okay. If you wanted to trade the 50 strike on ANIP, it goes from 650 to 920. All right. Now, think about this. If I wanted to buy it, I'd have to pay 920. And let's say I want to get out of it right away, just for example. I can only sell it back for 650. So 920 minus 650 is $2.70. But what did I pay for it? Right? What did I pay for it? 920. That means it's a 30% loss. 30% loss between buying it and selling it. That sucks. Brand says it's way cheaper to burn cash. Yeah. I mean, legitimately, if I wanted to buy this and then sell it back, that is the price I'd have to pay. I'd have to pay, right? I don't want to lose 30% just for the fun of it. That would be the equivalent of going to Six Flags, going on the Mr. Freeze ride. It costs you $9 to get into the Mr. Freeze ride, and at the end of it, they give you $6.50. They're like, "Hey, was it a great ride?" And you're like, "Where's my $9?" They're like, "Well, that was the cost for the ride. Did you enjoy the ride?" And you're like, "Yeah, but like, where's my money?" Well, that was the cost for the ride. Now, there's nothing you can do about that, right? That is part of the market, okay? The market takes its vig. The market takes its cost out of you, okay? That's what it's going to cost to play the game. But you don't have to pay as much as that, right? And that's why I say the very most I will spend is 50 cents. And even if it gets to that limit, sometimes I'm like, it's not worth a 50-cent spread to me. But this is what I look at when I look at options, and why I look at those things when I look at options, right? Of course, you can go for those 20 delta calls. You can go for those 20 delta options. But you're losing a lot of extrinsic value that will go to zero by doing so. Or you go on the other end of the scale, right, where the pro traders are, instead of the novices, right? Instead of the amateurs who don't know what they're doing, buying all these out of the money calls, the pro traders are on the other end of the fence, buying the in the money calls. I didn't make this up. I learned this directly from Larry Hite, one of the original market wizards. Larry Hite was the very first billion-dollar hedge fund manager, and so I had the immeasurable opportunity to work with Larry Hite. And this is one of the things he specifically set me down. He's like, "Chris, this is like trading futures on every single product out there. Like, the leverage here is amazing. And it works more in your favor when you're right and less in your favor when you're wrong. Meaning it helps you when you're right and it doesn't hurt you as bad when you're wrong," which is really cool, right? Like, who would have thought it'd be awesome like that? So that's where my head is at. I wanted to take a few minutes to explain why I choose these options, and I want you to understand why we choose these options too, because in all reality, if you're following along, and hopefully you are, you're making great money right now. Or you're sitting on the sidelines right now because there's just nothing to take, right? Now, keep in mind, not every day is a trading day, nor it should be a trading day. But every day you need to have a plan. The plan is awesome because I get to share it with you. So thank you so much for being an outlier. We literally couldn't do this without you, and I want to pay you back every single day by helping you save time, make money, and start winning with less risk together as a team. Now, Mahesh mentioned this earlier. We actually are raising prices at the end of the month. So you can save 75 or 45% on the annual plan right now, which is literally 80 or 90 cents a day. So if you don't already have the annual plan, you definitely need to get it. Let us know if you need anything in the Discord. We're always there, always taking care of everything that we can for you. And don't forget, the first rule of Outlier is telling everybody about Outlier. And Peter, you're super welcome. The explanations are extra values to Outlier. Very, very cool. I appreciate your feedback on that. Make sure you hit the like button and tell everyone else on YouTube how much you enjoy Outlier as well, because it's free. And I'll see you. I actually won't be online tomorrow. I will be online Thursday. I have a family conflict tomorrow. So I will not see you tomorrow, but we'll see you on Thursday. We'll talk soon.